how can we make crime not pay? The answer is, we already do. Crime already doesn't pay. You know, the neighborhoods that have the worst relationships with the police still have a serious crime problem. And part of the bad relationship with the police is that the neighborhoods feel both besieged by the cops and underserved. And so doing smart things to get a handle on their crime problem is part, not all, but part of the job of building relationship.
I was just really interested in one of your colleagues, the Ohio University professor Michelle Alexander, who has written a book, right, called Mass Incarceration in the Era of Color Blindness. Now, towards the end, you were addressed a little bit on that. Could you elaborate on that a little bit, especially when you talk about a city like, say, Ferguson, that that municipality derives almost a quarter of its budget by fining its black and minority community, for one thing. But do you agree or disagree with the assessment of, I don't know if you even...
I know the book, unfortunately.
Oh, okay,
I was going to say, I mean, it would probably be more, appropriate to ask Mark questions about what he's written,
right,
and what he believes than what somebody else has written. And
no, but that book's a big contributor to this debate, and
absolutely, that's where I was coming from.
Not a helpful contributor.
Well, what are your differences with?
Well, because the book focuses on the racial disparity in who gets punished, and never mentions the racial disparity in who commits crimes. And here's the sad, I mean, if it were only true that racism in the criminal justice system was the cause of the disparity, then we could fix it by fixing racism in the criminal justice system. In fact, if you look at homicide, right, which is the easiest crime to count because there's a body,
sure,
and because the race of the body, at least, is not a matter of opinion, right? Race of the perpetrator may be a matter of opinion, but you know who the body is, and we know that almost all homicide is intraracial. We look at the ratio of black to white homicide victims compared to the population. The same as the ratio of black to white prisoners. And so it's just not true that we have loaded our prison system with nonviolent first-time drug offenders, which is sort of the lesson of that book. Most of our prisoners are in there for violent crime that they actually did commit. So, I mean, obviously there are instances of false conviction, and those ought to be addressed. But the mass numbers are people actually doing terms for actual violent crimes that they actually committed. And the problem is that is not evenly distributed by race. And it's my view that the double problem, this is the point of Randy Kennedy's Race, Crime, and the Law, that the really horrible thing this system does to the African American community is leave it as a victim of uncontrolled crime. And it would not be a blessing to that community to have its members who have behaved badly turned back loose to behave badly some more. So I absolutely think we need to address the mass incarceration problem and the racial disparity problem. We need to address the racial disparity in victimization at least as much as we do the racial disparity in incarceration. And I don't see anything in that line of thinking that gets us in that direction. So the stuff we were talking about now could get us in the direction of having less racial disparity in who gets murdered. And that's what we're looking for.
When you were talking about, for example, having to release up to 85% or 80%.
80% to get us back to the old rate.
Yeah, right, to get back to the old rate.
And even that old rate would make us 50% more punitive than any other civilized country.
All right, but you were talking about, I mean, it was a funny phrase, talking about, say, having a release rate with training wheels. Okay, I mean, so how would society make an assessment on that, on who to release and who to indeed give a release with training wheels? And one of the things that Professor Alexander was talking about were the punitive penalties for those who are released, who may have served their time, and the continuation of
there's two different things, right? One is
that's fine.
One is the continued disabilities that people suffer under for having had a prior conviction.
Absolutely.
It's a huge problem. Different issue is, given that somebody was sentenced to prison, can you let him out early, right? That's the old parole idea. Mm-hmm. and put him under some limits while he's in the community. And I want to revive that idea, and I want to strengthen that idea. I think there are a lot of people who need to be punished and need to have their behavior controlled, don't need to be in a cage. And that we can massively replace the buildings with technology, right? So put somebody out, put him in an apartment, there's a webcam over the door, he's got a GPS monitor, he's being drug tested twice a week, he's got a curfew, he's got a work schedule, right?
Is that the training wheels that you're talking about?
Yeah. So now he's living in the community, but under very tight conditions. He's better off for him than prison, right? But he's living in his own community, and we're trying to help him behave well. And if he spends 2 weeks and does everything he's supposed to do, well, the curfew gets to be a little later. And if he gets a job, the apartment gets to be a little nicer. And you put some of the money, he pays the rent, but some of the money goes into a bank account, and so he suddenly got savings. And you slowly help the guy along into being a citizen. And that's better for him, and it's better for us. And what he really wants. I mean, the rhetoric of crime suggests these guys are Lex Luthor, who plotting to escape. They are living miserable lives, and they know it. They need a way out. But the way out is just not to ignore the fact that they're doing bad stuff. The way out is to figure out the right kind of punishment that could actually bring about reform.